Hello, everyone. Welcome live to 3 Wide TV tonight's broadcast of the National Sim Racing Association Simbox Truck Series here from the beautiful Las Vegas Motor Speedway for tonight's Max Grafix 240 around this 1.5-mile racetrack. I'm Peter Short, and joining me in the booth here tonight is Drew
Beat, you get out there.
Eisenman.
Yeah, we are at Las Vegas Motor Speedway here in the NSRA Simbox Truck Series.
Yeah, we'll have to keep an eye on that tonight, Drew. But yeah, I'm Peter Short, Drew Eisenman alongside of me, and above this 1.5-mile racetrack. It should be a lot of fun here tonight, Drew. This racetrack lends itself to some really good racing, and we've seen a lot of really fast times here in practice. That man right there,
Yeah, I agree, Pete. The trucks, it looks pretty slick out there from what I can tell from the onboards. Quite a bit of counter steer center off, especially on these longer runs. It looks like it's going to be a heck of a show. Las Vegas is definitely one of my favorite 1.5-mile tracks. It's not too different from some of the other ones, especially in their previous iterations with like Texas and so forth. But I think it's one of those tracks where we're seeing some kind of multiple grooves, a little bit on a few guys on the low line, a few guys on the high line. I think it's going to be some fantastic racing here tonight.
Without a doubt. We're trying to get some little gremlins sorted out here on 3 Wide TV. Definitely let us know as things go. Hopefully we can get them fixed here before the start of the race. But one thing we got to go over here at the start of the race here, Drew, is the current point standings. And it is TJ Buck currently leading the way in points, Drew.
Yeah, he's been so strong. He was strong in the preseason, and he's been so strong throughout these first few races. It's so important early on to just put yourself in a really good position as far as a championship is concerned, because then it really takes that pressure off of you. And I know TJ Buck, he has to be kind of feel enabled, right? Feel like you can kind of be a little bit more aggressive, take a little more risk because you've already, 2-3 races into the season, put yourself in a really good position to where you're not having to just points race just to put yourself in a position to win a championship.
Yeah, absolutely. And, Jeffrey Johnson Jr. also kind of tied on points there in second. Paul Bilson, the man who a lot of drivers said had kind of a target on his back at the beginning of the season. He's sitting there in points in second right now after 2 races. Of course, it is very early on. And, of course, we got another round here tonight at the beautiful 1.5-mile Las Vegas Motor Speedway out in Las Vegas, Nellis Air Force Base, just outside of the backstretch. And it really is a great race that we're going to see here tonight. And while you're watching, make sure you check out NSRAcares.com. They're looking to get a little bit of money raised there. I think the league has a $1,000 goal, so make sure you check that out. There's a link in the description here of this video. So go check them out. Go give them a little bit of your money for a good cause. It goes to the Ronald McDonald House for Cancer Charities. So make sure you check them out as the race goes on. And of course, also a big shout out to tonight's race sponsor, Max Grafix, jumping on board. Make sure you check them out on Facebook, facebook.com/mxgraphics. But here, Drew, I think the practice session is just wrapping up. And tell us a little bit about what we saw in the practice session as we now go over into qualifying.
Yeah, the track looked fairly slick. Looking at the track temps right here, 116 track temp, pretty hot. Air temp only at 65 though. It's that classic, desert Las Vegas sun definitely heating this track up pretty well. We saw once again 48 truck Matt Cherry so strong last race, and he looks like he's going to continue that form here. Hopefully he can, finish that race a little bit better than he was able to do at the previous one. Stan Houseman's up there, Bill Edwards, Chris Darling, Nathan Maurer, Jeffrey Johnson, Jamar Dumas, Colin Ullery, Ben Adams, a bunch of guys that I think we all expect those guys to be really quick. And we'll see if that translates, that practice pace, we'll see if it translates to qualifying.
Yeah, and right there is the number 48 machine of Matt Cherry. Did not have a good lap time on lap number 1. You see him well down the running order right now, down in 13th. Paul Bilson in the number 51 machine, currently the fastest, but here comes that number 48 machine digging down there on the bottom. Going to go below the white line to see if he can put in the top time. Let's see where he goes. Top of the board for the number 48 machine at 31.072. So Matt Cherry and Drew, go back 2 weeks ago to Atlanta. That 48 machine was the fastest truck out there. But due to certain things that happened, he did not end up going to victory lane.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely dominated that race, led 90 out of 158 laps, but just made a crucial mistake at the worst possible time, unfortunately, for that 48. And he just could never recover. Ended up finishing outside of the top 10 out there in 12th. And especially after finishing 39th at Daytona, he's not in a great point situation. But the speed that he has demonstrated is now he drops to third with Stan Houseman and Matt White both jumping him. You know, he was so quick at Atlanta that usually that pace translates to Las Vegas, right? They're definitely not the same, but they're definitely also not that different either. And I fully expect him to come late in this race. If he doesn't make those mistakes, he's going to be up front.
Couple of drivers jumping their names to the top of the board. What about Stan Hausman in the number 39 machine trying to bounce back after a disastrous race at Atlanta a couple weeks ago? And what about Matt White in the number 1 machine? And Drew, Matt White's one of those names that goes back quite some time because I've definitely raced against him a long time ago. Back in the NR 2003 days. So great to see Matt White here in the field here tonight around this beautiful racetrack that you can see right down there on your screen. But Drew, whenever you come here to Las Vegas Motor Speedway, what are things that you look out for? Is there really a calamity corner, so to speak, at this place?
I mean, I don't think quite as much in Las Vegas, especially in these trucks, which tend to be a little bit more planted, right? Than especially like the 1987 cars. Right. I think that the main thing is going to be how do these drivers take care of their stuff on the long runs? Because I do expect, based on what we saw at Atlanta, some longer runs in this race, and which drivers can take care of their stuff and which drivers make the correct strategy calls as far as pitting is concerned. Because we saw last week Matt Cherry do that short pitting strategy. It almost won him the race until those late cautions and that speeding mistake on pit road. He put himself in a great position strategy wise. I think we could see somebody try to mirror that strategy tonight. And if they do, then I think that could be one of those deals that makes the difference in winning this race or not.
Yeah, absolutely. We definitely saw a lot of green flag running at Atlanta Motor Speedway 2 weeks ago. An early race. We had a couple of yellows early in the race last time out, and then we had a long green flag run. It was about a 100-lap green flag run before we had a late race yellow that tripped up drivers like the number 48 of Matt Cherry. So it's going to be very interesting to see how that plays out here tonight. But the checkered flag is out here in qualifying, and it does look like Sandhals will lead us to the green flag. So let's see if we can pull up that number 39 machine here when he pops up here on the front stretch. There he is, because, folks, he is your Sim Racing Shirts Pole Award winner here at Las Vegas in the Max Grafix 240. So big shout out to Stan Halsman for sitting there on the front row. But Drew, why don't you take us through tonight's starting lineup?
Absolutely. Starting P139, Stan Houseman. Starting second on the outside, Matt White. P3, Matt Cherry. P4, Tim Hammond. P5, Jamar Dumas. Ben Adams will start P6. Joey Ducette, P7. Paul Bilson, P8. Peter Serto in P9. And Nicholas Bradley, P10.
Yeah, right behind them, Nathan Maurer and TJ Buck on row number 6. Looks like the cars are now starting to roll off. Behind them on row number 7, we got Robert Dudley in the number 15 machine. He was pretty fast last time out. Brian Bradley in the number 16 will start to his outside. Bill Edwards and Aaron Mack are on row number 8. Row number 9, Chris Darling and Doug Milliner on row number 10. And rounding out your top 20 here, Drew, Joshua Sobel and Jeff Bright.
Absolutely. And in P21, we have Doug Neal with Monty Glover starting on his outside in P22. In P23, we have Colin Ullery On the outside of him will be Justin White. Travis White will be starting P25, with Andrew Himmelman starting on his outside in P26, Jacob Schaffen in 27th, Ben Mashburn in 28th, Michael Mooney in 29th, and Chip Hansen starting P30.
And then rounding out your field, the number 33 of Jeffrey Johnson. He'll be starting back there in 31st. Mitchell Snare and Joshua Kane rounding out your field. But Drew, looking at the front of the field, possibly a little bit of some connection issues, perhaps. Not exactly sure what's going on up with the front row. I'm not seeing them on my screen right now, but the pace car headed down pit road, and the green flag is going to be in the air here. Matt Cherry and the number 48 machine has pulled away here. Let's see if we get a little bit better of a camera view. There we go. There's that number 48 machine. But Drew, kind of an odd start here at Las Vegas.
Yeah, I as well. And I certainly did not see the one truck take the grid. And I thought I saw Stan Houseman, but now I'm not. So apparently Matt Cherry in a really strong position coming out of that green flag to lead as he goes through 3 and 4. I think he's definitely going to get this first lap led.
Yeah, without a doubt, that number 48 truck is going to lead that first lap, and he's going to head basically the whole field here going off into turn number 1 and 2. Some good side-by-side racing a little bit further back behind them as the field continues to race on by. And let's see if we can kind of look at this battle. Drew, this is the battle brewing for about the 6th, 7th position. That's the number 15 of Robert Dudley on the inside. Remember, Dudley was pretty fast 2 weeks ago at Atlanta Motor Speedway, and he's trying to get himself another solid run here tonight.
Yeah, I think he had some kind of misfortune late in that 15 truck, but he showed great speed, did Robert Dudley, last week. And like I said, I think speed at Atlanta typically translates to speed at Las Vegas, so I think we're going to see a lot of those same names up front. Obviously, we're seeing that with the 48, the 15 having a strong start here in 7th, and it's really early, right? It's early in this race. It's all about putting yourself in a good position to be able to compete for those positions late in the race. All you can really do right now is screw your race up. You can't win it. So I think we're starting to see this field kind of spread out single file, is these guys know, hey, this is not a short race by any means, right? We have 160 laps here at Las Vegas. You certainly are not going to put yourself in a position to win on lap 4. So I think it's smart what we're seeing a lot of these guys do, which is kind of settle down. Let's try to get into a groove. Let's click these laps off, and let's put ourselves in a good position late.
Back up at the front, Matt Cherry continues to lead. Tim Hammond still sits in the 2nd position. Paul Bilson in 3rd. And folks, no sign of either Stan Hausman in the number 39 or Matt White in the number 1. In fact, we got a couple of cars not out there on the racetrack. Chip Hansen, as there might have been a little bit of contact there between the number 6 machine and the number 4, a little bit further back in the pack. That's Doug Milliner in that Ford, doing battle with Andrew Himmelman in the number 4 machine. Colin Ullery in the number 62, trying to get to his outside. This is some good racing. This is back around the 20th position or so, and these drivers just trying to log some laps here in the early going. But back up at the front, still Matt Cherry, Tim Hammond, Paul Bilson there running in 3rd in that bright red number 51 machine. A little bit further back, though, looks like Dudley in the number 15 machine. He's trying to get underneath Nathan Maurer in the 971.
Yeah, we saw the front guys kind of spread out a little bit, and now we're seeing them kind of almost pull themselves back into a bigger pack. Now we're really starting to see some racing for that latter half of the top 10, as that 15 truck is looking kind of to defend himself essentially from Peter Serto, who is taken to his outside. We'll see if he can carry that momentum off. Yeah, it's just so hard. I think because Las Vegas has these kind of big open corners, especially compared to the other 1.5s. It doesn't really reward the truck on the outside as much as I think some of these other similar tracks do. It's going to be hard for that. Yeah, as we see that 32 start to drop back and that 15 start to pull away a little bit, it's going to be really hard to maintain that momentum on the outside because the corners open up so much on exit.
Yeah, absolutely. Got to give a few shout out to the people that we got watching in the chat. If you're in the chat here tonight, make yourself heard. Definitely we'll be giving shout outs as this race goes on. So let us know who you are rooting on here tonight. The Windsor's rooting on the S2R machines. And one of the S2R machines, James Lorello. Got the win back at Atlanta Motor Speedway. And if you're looking on the left side of your screen for Mr. Lorello, well, you won't find him. James Lorello not in the field here tonight. And Drew, right in front of your race leader of Cherry is the number 39 machine of Stan Hausman. And this is the truck which sat on the pole. He was your Sim Racing Shirts Pole Award winner here tonight. And definitely not the way he wanted to start this race. Now 5 laps down.
Yeah, I would really love to get, hopefully we don't get a caution, but if we do, I'd love to get a chance to talk to Stan, because I would love to know what happened, because, right, you started on the pole, you had this great feeling, and then all of a sudden, you're 5 laps down because for some reason couldn't take the grid, and I'd love to just kind of know what happened. Obviously, he showed pace in qualifying, but now he's being run down by Matt Cherry, and a whole mess of cars behind Matt Cherry as the number 51. Paul Bilson is looking really solid, really starting to put the pressure on that 48 truck. But yeah, I gotta think that 39 of Stan Hausman has to be really frustrated, as Bilson's really closing in on Cherry here through the corners, taking it a little bit lower on entry, carrying some good apex speed, and then letting that truck carry some momentum off. I think he's going to be making a move down the front stretch, almost a little bit of contact there.
That was contact between those two. Let's see if we can go back and see this one here on the 3-wide TV replay, because I'll tell you what, that was definitely contact between them. Here we go through the Trialville. Look at Bilson. He dives down to the bottom of the racetrack. There's that contact. You see the wiggle out of that number 48 machine. Huge wiggle. Great job by Matt Cherry to keep that machine going nice and straight. But here we are back live, and the 51's got another run there side by side across the stripe. Bilson's going to lead that lap.
Yeah, Bilson's just kind of slowly made progress on the pace of that 48 truck, and now they're side by side. We'll see. Again, I think that high lane, it's more challenging to hold that high lane at Las Vegas than it is at its similar tracks, but we're seeing Matt Cherry do a really, really good job in that 48 truck. But Bilson getting a little bit of an advantage through 3 and 4. Pretty even off the corner. We'll see who leads this lap. I think it's going to be Matt Cherry. Can Bilson pull him a little bit? That was almost a dead heat. But Matt Cherry will lead that lap. Paul Bilson is showing a ton of speed here. I don't remember him showing this much speed at Atlanta the last race 2 weeks ago, but he certainly he feels confident. Mr. Unfortunate last year is showing some pace early on at Las Vegas.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I'll tell you what, he is just trying his darndest to get to the race lead here around this Las Vegas Motor Speedway. And look at who's now up into the 3rd position. That's the number 5 machine of Ben Adams. Sim Racing Shirts on the hood as we continue to watch. They get tight. They're coming out of turn number 2. Down the backstretch they come once more. And Drew, really, you could throw a blanket over about the first 9 trucks or so, all the way back to Peter Serto and TJ Buck just a little bit further back in the 9th position. But really great job out of this front pack here in the early going. But do you think they possibly might be using up their stuff just a little bit much, as Bilson finally going to get himself clear up at the front?
It'll be really interesting to see. I don't know. Maybe Matt Cherry was holding these guys up a little bit. I kind of find that hard to believe, as he gets a heck of an exit out of 2. Oh, Bilson with a bit of a block on the backstretch. And Matt Cherry, I think, he's going to clear him through 3 and 4. We'll see if Bilson's able to pull back on him down the front stretch. Yeah, Bilson's got a heck of a run. What's he going to do with it? Ooh, has to let out. Looked like he was going to get that 48, a little bit of a bump to the corner. But yeah, I think with these trucks, the draft is so important that maybe it's pulling these guys back. But it's going to be interesting to see with that tire wear, right? Because, this definitely has a long green run feel to it. Oh, it's Bilson. That is a huge check through the center of 3 and 4.
Yeah, definitely had to check up, and that's going to open up the door now for the number 5 machine, perhaps. That's Ben Adams looking for that spot. Tim Hammond in the number 25 machine. Nathan Maurer. Now we got 2 by 2 for the front 4 trucks as they go through turn number 1 and 2. Great job by this whole field as you see them race out of the corner, down the back stretch. Some great camera angles brought to you by our friends over at Sim TV here tonight at Las Vegas Motor Speedway, including this one right here. You see them coming right at you. And I'll tell you what, Drew, some great action here in the early going. I'm a bit surprised just how much side-by-side action we're seeing.
Absolutely, Peter. I mean, this is not a track that is known for its close side-by-side racing. There's a little bit of contact, 3 wide through 3 and 4. That's definitely going to cost Paul Bilson, dropping back down to 4th position.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I'm gonna go back and see if we can get another quick look at this one from our blimp cam, because here we are going off into the corner, just a little bit of nudge, maybe a little bit of net code, and Bilson definitely had to go up the racetrack, chase that truck, and now he is going to have to work his way back up towards the front. He's now using that high groove. And what about the number 25 machine, Tim Hammond? He's trying to get his truck out front, and it looks like he's going to clear the number 48 machine coming down the backstretch. And look at Bilson. Bilson with a run. Now Bilson's going to drop to the inside. This is some great racing as we have 20 laps in the books this time by.
Yeah, somebody needs to tell these guys that we aren't at Daytona anymore. I mean, this is basically what we see at Daytona and Talladega, right? I mean, we're just seeing all sorts of huge runs that I think is being powered by the draft, as Paul Bilson looking really strong. 25 truck fighting back on the outside of Tim Hammond. Yeah, I kind of expected once those guys in front of Matt Cherry had that misfortune to start this race, and Matt White in that the 39 truck of Stan Houseman, I expected Matt Cherry to kind of run away as he did in Atlanta, but also then my brain kind of remembered, well, he only started to run away with it after that first green flag pit stop. Before then, this draft really kept those trucks close. Oh, the 5 and the 971, man, some close racing through 3 and 4 there, Peter.
Yeah, we saw that happen right there. We were riding on board with the number 5 of Adams. As all these guys down the backstretch definitely had to check up just a little bit in that Sim Racing Shirts number 5 machine. He has Maurer right behind him in the 971. Now Maurer, he might have just peeked to the inside. And what about Robert Dudley? We mentioned his name a couple of times here in the early going. He started all the way back in 13th. He's up to 6th. We've got a couple of drivers here in the early going picking up quite a few positions, including the number 14 machine of Jeff Price. He's now running in 9th position. There you see him. He's trying to chase down this lead pack of trucks as they dive off into turn number 3. You see all those trucks out the front of that number 14 machine's nose. And I'm sure he's watching this action in front of him here, Drew, and kind of just licking his chops because they're all eating up all of their stuff. They're chewing up those Goodyear rubber, and he's just saying, all right, I'm just going to pace myself here and see if I can pick up a few spots.
Yeah, I would definitely find it hard to believe that these guys aren't kind of using up their tires a little bit here at the front. There's some really, really aggressive driving going on, especially between the 48 to 25, 971, the 5 truck, right? Those guys have been pushing their stuff so hard, trying to maintain their track position early. I do think it's going to have a negative effect on them later in this run. And again, we kind of talked about a little earlier, this early part of this race, it's just making sure that you're in a good position later in the race, right? Don't compromise the rest of your race just to gain a position or two on lap 20, 25, like we are now, as we are seeing the 5 of Ben Adams there making a move all the way up, looking to take 3rd position away from that 25 truck of Tim Hammond. That 5 has shown a little bit of pace recently. He wasn't really up there towards the front at the beginning, but I think we're seeing maybe that 5 truck of Ben Adams, maybe he did a good job of saving his stuff because he has made quite a bit of ground up on that leader this last lap.
And Drew, we got to start thinking about possible green flag pit stops here very shortly. I'm focusing on the number 50 machine right there, driven by Bill Edwards, running a 9/11, of course, it is September 11th, though. We definitely will never forget what happened on 9/11 back in 2001, and great to see him running a special paint scheme out there. I know the Windsors will be rooting on the number 50 here tonight, being one of the S2R drivers, and he has got himself now up inside the top 5. He's up to the 4th position. Tim Hammond sliding back to 5th. And Drew, one driver who's been slowly but surely creeping his way up towards the front. It's this man right here, the number 47 machine of Chris Darling. He started well back in the field here tonight. He started down in 17th. He's all the way up to 6th, trying to get himself up to 5th.
Yeah, I know you and I both have raced with Chris Darling in the past, and I know that he certainly has to feel frustrated by his start to the season. It hasn't been certainly what he has wanted, but I think he's starting to show that pace that we kind of expected out of him early here at Las Vegas, as he is now battling to stay in that top 5 and to move up earlier or further up in this field, as that 48 truck looking to make a move on the 5 of Ben Adams here. Man, that is really close. That 5 truck going into 1 and 2 is that 50 is way up the track. That's not going to be good for his momentum.
Oh, but look at Chris Darling. He might have had the opposite problem. He might have been a little bit too low, a little bit of a wiggle out at the back end of the Fleet Pride number 47 machine, running a very patriotic scheme. He's going to fall into the clutches of Peter Serto in the number 32 machine right behind him, but back up at the front, side-by-side battle for the race lead. Here comes the number 5 of Adams, and what has happened, Drew, to the number 48 machine? Has possibly the 48 come down pit road? Yes, he has. So right there, Matt Cherry going to be the first driver to blink and head down pit road out of your front runners. But back up at the front, Paul Bilson, he's losing out that spot right now to Ben Adams, but he gets a great run down the backstretch. We'll have to see whether or not he elects to come in this time. We've seen Matt Cherry come in pit road, and this time it'll be Paul Bilson coming to pit road.
Oh, we'll see if he makes it. That was an aggressive pit road entry. I always feel so nervous for those guys when they're kind of making these green flag pit stops in a fairly congested pack like we saw that last time by for Paul Bilson. But yeah, I mean, I think that 48 truck, this is what he did last week, and it almost paid off until late in the race, and that kind of unfortunate situation unfolded for him. But pitting early, I don't know. I need to look at these lap times and see kind of what they're looking. Yeah, I mean, they are about 1.5 seconds to 2 seconds down. Ooh, it's the 32. That's aggressive. Yeah, we'll see. I'm going to be interested to see. It looks like everybody's trying to get everything they can coming on the pit road. And yeah, we're looking at that 15 truck now. And again, man, you can make up a little bit of time as there's contact on pit road. The 23 truck.
The 23 truck, that right there is Travis White. And let's see if we can go back just a little bit and see what happened here. There's Maurer in the 971 machine to his inside, had the number 40 right in front of him. Oh, man, the 23 was trying to get over. And who was that, Drew? Was that the other? That was the 34 machine behind him making a little bit of contact. Definitely not what you want to see on pit road. I think that was the 34 machine, which would definitely not be good here tonight. In fact, was that the number 24 machine? I'm not 100% sure who that was, who made that contact. Oh, it's the number 84, excuse me, of TJ Buck, who comes into tonight as one of your points leaders. But let's go back live here at Las Vegas, and there is TJ Buck. He's back out there on the racetrack now. As things continue to cycle through, Chris Darling's headed off pit road. Matt Cherry in the number 48 machine here, Drew. He is going to cycle through to the race leader, and look at this advantage he's going to have. I mean, we saw a huge advantage for this number 48 machine last week at the Atlanta Motor Speedway, and here again, just due to the pit cycle, he's going to get himself out to a pretty big advantage over a lot of the field.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of surprised that somebody else didn't learn from Matt last week and what made him so good, or not last week, rather 2 weeks ago at Atlanta. And once again, he has been the guy that determines when these pit stops happen. That's such a powerful thing to kind of dictate to the rest of the field. This is when you're going to stop because this is when I'm going to stop, right? And Matt has been able to kind of break this big pack up. That was a 3.5 second lead. He wasn't even the leader coming onto pit road. And as that was almost contact, I'm sorry, with the 48 and the 23 truck coming out of 3 and 4. The 23 did not give that 48 truck any room, as we're going to go to a replay here.
Yeah, so these are the two cars that you're mentioning here, Drew, and walk us through what happened.
Yeah, you see that 48 truck just on the 23, and so close, right? That can go so poorly, so quickly when you're the leader and you have that huge closing rate off the corner.
Yeah, and the good news for him, though, is he avoided any contact, and he is now up to about a 3.5-second lead over Paul Bilson in the number 51 machine, who we see right here behind him is Ben Adams. Those two trucks still locked together. And what about Jamar Dumas in the number 28 machine? Right there. He's now up into 4th. Robert Dudley got himself up into 5th, so good pit stop for both of those drivers. Bill Edwards in 6th, Chris Darling 7th, Colin Ullery, Nicholas Bradley, and Tim Hammond rounding out your top 10. Got to give a big shout out to the sponsor of this number 40 machine. That's Rocket City Custom PCs. And folks, if you're kind of new to the Simbox Truck Series here, well, what they're doing is they actually just offered up a new prize for the cleanest driver in this series, and the prize is going to be a triple monitor stand, and it's going to be courtesy of Rocket City Custom PC. So great to have them on board as a series sponsor. You'll see their name up, in fact, right there in the top left-hand corner of your screen, and definitely helping out the Simbox Truck Series here in the NSRA. Make sure you Google them. You can find them on Facebook as well, Rocket City Custom PC. Their link is not in the description just yet, but it will be for the next race in 1 week's time. But Drew, definitely great start to this race. I mean, we've had all this green flag running. We're through the first quarter of the race, yet to see any cautions, and we have seen some spectacular side-by-side action.
Yeah, it certainly hasn't been for a lack of enthusiasm, right? We have seen some really aggressive moves that, quite frankly, some really skillful driving has essentially been able to prevent from bringing out a caution, right? Interactions with lap traffic, just guys running extremely hard, incidents on pit road. It has certainly been an eventful, but refreshingly, I guess, clean as far as the green flag is concerned, start to this race at Las Vegas here in the Simbox Truck Series, as we are now looking at that 5 truck of Ben Adams, and Paul Bilson looks like he's running him down a little bit. I think Ben was able to gain quite a bit through that pit cycle, right? Because Paul Bilson, I believe, was in front of him. I might be mistaken at the start of that cycle. And Ben was able to do a really good job on and off pit road. But I think while these guys are kind of running close, and I anticipate them starting to really race each other pretty hard, I think this is only going to benefit that lead number 48 truck of Matt Cherry, as he definitely is looking to extend this. Because what we saw at the last race there at Atlanta was Matt was able to build that lead by pitting early, but then slowly that lead was eaten away by guys with just a little bit fresher tires. We saw that Matt Cherry had a 3.9 second lead to start this stint, and that has been cut down quite a bit. We'll see this time by. It's down to 3.4. So he lost, it was 3.9 that previous lap. That's about a half a second right there, 0.4 to a half a second. Matt Cherry is experiencing some pretty heavy lap traffic, but I think if Ben Adams and Paul Bilson can stay in line, I think they're in a really, really good position to run down that 48 truck.
Yeah, a little bit of interesting graphical hiccups there, and that's because the number 1 machine of Matt White, well, folks, he was the first car to go across the start-finish line until he had connection issues. So a portion of the ticker still thinks that, a portion of the live timing and scoring still believes that Matt White is the race leader, when that is definitely wrong. It is another Matt. It's Matt Cherry in that 48 machine that you see right there flashing across your screen. Still running right behind the number 23 machine, and Drew, perhaps running that close to the number 23 machine might cause a little bit of trouble, a little bit of arrow wash on the nose of that Lowe's machine. But for now, Cherry still holding on to a 3-second advantage. Ben Adams, though, like you said, starting to close in on that machine. We'll pull up the last lap times at the top of your screen so you can kind of see just the difference between the different cars. And, we saw drivers pit at different times. We saw Matt Cherry. He was one of the first cars to come down pit road. He now has 14 laps on his tires. Ben Adams, 2 laps fresher tires on his machine. But then you had drivers like Tim Hammond in the number 25. Tim Hammond actually fastest truck out there on the racetrack a lap or 2 ago, because his tires, are only 11 and a half laps old or so. So that's why that number 25 machine is digging, and he's actually starting to close in on the back of the number 15 of Robert Dudley, who is right in front of him. There is Dudley in that number 15 machine. So, we saw this at Atlanta, Drew, that the trucks had different strategies. They came down pit road at different times. And when they came down pit road at different times, it led to some trucks being faster than others just due to kind of when they cycled down pit road. And it made for a really exciting race.
Absolutely. And whenever you get that speed differential, right, it can pay off to be the quick guy. But sometimes that speed differential can kind of put you in a compromising position because you catch guys so quickly. And that can bring out cautions, bring out trouble. But I mean, right now we're not in the cycle, so I don't anticipate that really happening. But I think that 15 truck, we'll see. I'd like to see this next time by the difference in the leader, because the 48 truck is being held up a ton, so he's not really he's losing that entire advantage that he gained by pitting early, and everybody behind him, including that 15 truck, which we are featuring now, is going to start really catching him. And so basically that whole advantage that Matt in that 48 was able to gain by pitting early, he's losing because he is battling trucks that are effectively a lap down and have pace of a lap down truck, while everyone behind him, including the 15 and the guys that are 7+ seconds back, they aren't having to battle those lap guys, and they are really closing in close to a half a second a lap to that 48 truck.
Yeah, and I'm looking at live timing and scoring, and over the last 5 laps, Matt Cherry in that number 48 machine, you have to go all the way back to the 16th plate machine of Doug Deal for a truck that's actually not running down that number 48 machine. Yeah, it might not be a whole lot, but definitely Matt Cherry right now in that Lowe's truck. You can just kind of see, you can definitely see it on the live timing and scoring. It's now down to just under 2 seconds, and Drew, just after that pit stop, it was over 4 seconds. So definitely trucks are catching. Now, we're probably only about 10 laps away from these trucks coming back down pit road, and I know Cherry probably thinks, hey, if I can just stay out here for another 10 laps as a race leader, I can come down pit road, start the next cycle of pit stops, and that would be to his advantage then. But now he's got himself a little bit of clean air on the nose of that 48 truck.
Yeah, at least for the time being. And I don't want to make it seem like I am portraying that 23 truck of Travis White from doing anything wrong, right? It is absolutely the prerogative of the truck that is being lapped to try to maintain his position on the lead lap. I would be doing the exact same thing. But it's definitely unfortunate for that leader in the 48 that until now, it seems like now he's starting to kind of solidify his position in front of that lap truck of Travis White. But yeah, it's got to be so frustrating as the leader. You're like, dude, I've demonstrated my pace. Like, please stop. Like, right? Like, let me get by. I have my race to run, and you have yours. All we're doing is really costing each other at this point. But, I mean, that's definitely not the perspective of Travis White, as the 48 truck looks like he solidly has that lead now. And now we'll see. Now these guys behind him, now the 5 of Ben Adams, the 51 of Paul Bilson, now they're going to start getting caught up in that lap traffic, which doesn't seem to be too much slower than the leaders, or than the leader of Matt Cherry. And they're going to be experiencing the same thing that he did. And we'll see if Matt Cherry can then extend that lead from those battles.
Yep, so right now it has been 23 or so laps since Matt Cherry was last on pit road in that Lowe's truck. Definitely getting caught from the trucks from behind. You can actually really now see the number 5 machine trying to go 3 wide here. Ben Adams down the backstretch trying to get underneath one of the lap traffics. That's the number 33 machine. Just outside. That's Jeffrey Johnson Jr. He is currently scored 1 lap down. Travis White in front of him. First truck 1 lap down here in the Simbox Truck Series. Make sure you go check them out. And Drew, got to give a big shout out to Simbox at this point of the race, because Simbox posted some pictures on Facebook of some of their most recent button boxes, and they look really, really cool, and they're a really good price, priced at under $100 for well over 20 buttons and knobs. Very, very cool to see that. You don't often see that value in the button box world, so Simbox definitely put together a good product at a good price. But here comes Bilson in the number 51 machine. I think he's had enough of doing battle with some of those lap traffic. Let's see if we can focus in on Paul Bilson here on the backstretch. He's going to clear the number 23 machine of White halfway down the backstretch. Ben Adams, though, he is closing in on that number 48 machine of Matt Cherry. Let's see if we can look out back of that number 48 machine. There you go. You can see the front end of that number 5 machine right there. Now, it is a big gap, Drew, from the number 51 back to the number 28 machine, but even the gap between Numas in the number 28 to Bill Edwards in the number 50, even that gap is closing. Chris Darling's got himself back up to 6th. Robert Dudley now falling back to 7th. And what about the number 25 machine of Tim Hammond? I was singing his praises just a little bit ago. Now he has fallen down to 8th. Maybe he used up his tires just a little bit too quick. But this is a battle for the race lead here. Working lap number 56, about to be working lap number 57.
Absolutely, and we're really closing in on that next cycle of pit stops. But here we go, the 5. Ben Adams looking to make a move for that lead. Was it just me, or did you see a little bit of damage to the rear end of that 48 truck? I wonder if that is having a contributive, fact, if it's a contributing factor to a little bit of pace lacking from that 48 truck during this run. I know these trucks are pretty tough, but you certainly don't want any damage here this early, as that 5, man, it's so hard to pass. That 5 really closed in on Matt Cherry a ton, but he's definitely going to have to work. It's a little close there going into 1, as Ben Adams really trying to drift up a little bit, almost contact between the 5 and the 48.
Man, that was as close as you can get without any contact between those cars to send them spinning around. I gotta say, I thought that they were going to be thrown up into the outside fence, and that would have been it for both of their races. But the number 5 of Adams able to check up just a little bit. Matt Cherry continues to lead here, and now looking at the amount of laps he's run, he's now run 29 laps since he was last on pit road. So Drew, he ran 29 laps in his first stint. He's running now more than 29 laps in this second stint. I expect to see Matt Cherry here on pit road in the next lap or 2. We'll see if he flashes by pit lane this time. Looks like he will, but I don't think Cherry's going to be out there on the racetrack for all too long here before he needs to come down as the number 5 looking to the inside once again.
It seems like that draft is having a pretty drastic effect, especially down that front stretch, as I think that 5 certainly will be able to clear him through 1 and 2, and Paul Bilson looking to follow him on that inside line. Paul Bilson carried quite a bit of momentum. I wonder if that 48 truck's looking to come to pit road here, as he it seemed like didn't put up a huge fight between those 2 lead trucks. Is he? Oh, that is a late commit. He absolutely is coming down pit road. Yeah, he will absolutely be okay. He was 48 miles an hour when he hit pit road with a 50-mile-an-hour limit, so he should be fine. As we are now focused back on Ben Adams, we'll see how long do these leaders stay out. We're on lap 60 and 160, right? If you can stretch 3 or 4 laps every single run, I mean, ideally like 5 laps longer than what this 48 truck is doing, you might be able to cut an entire pit stop. As the 5, are they both coming? Oh, there's a really, really close entrance for both of those trucks coming on the pit road there, Peter.
Man, My octaves went up there just a little bit. We're going to see if we can go back and get another look at this one, because this was super, super tight between the front two. Watch this in slow motion. Adams here trying to come down pit road. Bilson trying to come with him. And watch how close this was to being an accident. They definitely kind of had to check up. It looked a little bit more drastic there, and watch them trying to get down on the flat. That's super difficult to do, Drew. You and I know that that transition in banking is really, really chaotic. And now the fuel continuing to cycle through. Right now, Joey Ducette in that number 61 machine is your race leader, but there's a side-by-side battle. Justin White trying to take the race lead. These two trucks staying out. Look at Matt Cherry in the number 48 machine. He's on those fresh tires. He's kind of getting boxed in back there in that machine. He's going to have to go to the inside of that number 2 machine here, going off into turn number 3.
Yeah, I mean, with that 48 truck, you know, he definitely needs to capitalize on being able to maximize that short pit, right? Like, the only way this works is if you're quicker than those guys behind you and you can stretch it out as they kind of slowly catch you on a little bit fresher tires. And I really think that on that outlap in this last circuit, you know, getting really held up severely through 1 and 2 by those two trucks who, by the way, were leading at the time, right? No fault of theirs, but that's really going to hurt Matt Cherry's chances to kind of lengthen that lead. It certainly seems like that Ben Adams is a second and a half, 2 seconds behind him. That's not what he needs. He needed to stretch that out to what we saw, that 4 seconds on that previous stop, because, right, it's the same difference in pits, right? 1 lap, and we saw what that 5 of Ben Adams and that 51 of Paul Bilson were able to do the length of that run. But now Matt Cherry only has a 1.3 second lead. I mean, not lead, but gap between that 48 and the 5, as the 61 of Joey Ducette and the 2 of Justin White continue to stay out. Well, now both of them have come onto pit road, as I say that. But Matt Cherry has now resumed the lead. Only a 1 second lead on Ben Adams, though.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. It's going to be interesting to see just how much the number 5 and the 51 can close them down. What about Chris Darling in the number 47 machine as well? Darling, he has 1 lap older tires than both Adams and Bilson, but he, in that truck right there, he was able to close down on them. And so great job here by Darling, currently running in 4th. Jamar Dumas in the number 28 machine, he pitted 1 lap prior to Chris Darling, so you'd think Darling here in a pretty good position. He pitted on the same lap as Matt Cherry, and I'll see if we can bring up those statistics there for you at the top of the screen so you can kind of see who pitted when. But great job here for this number 47 machine here, getting close to the halfway mark, Drew. I mean, this first half of the race here, flying by, green flag all the way, no cautions here. It has been an absolute frantic pace. And this is kind of what we saw back at Atlanta in the middle portion of that race, where we saw a lot of green flag running.
Yeah, absolutely. It really it has the feel of a race that could potentially, knock on wood, go green for the duration. But I got to say that 47 truck is now, we cut to the 15 and that pink truck. I can't quite make out the number. I believe it's the 35. The 47 truck is a handsome looking machine, right? I gotta say I love that those patriotic schemes on this most unfortunate of days. But 15 of Robert Dudley there. Let's see, he was down to 7 seconds behind the leader after that last cycle. Only 5.7 now. So he's now looking to make a move on that 50 truck of Bill Edwards to move himself up into the 6th position as Bill Edwards falls back. Maybe another position behind that incredibly bright pink truck. I don't know if that's for position. It is not. That is Aaron Mack, who is running 22nd. But Robert Dudley has been able to make some progress. I'm just surprised that these guys aren't trying to mirror that strategy, that 48 truck. It seems just like they're letting him dictate what this race is going to unfold into being. But Dudley slowly kind of closing that gap back down. But I believe here in the next lap or so, we're going to see a race for the lead between Ben Adams and Matt Cherry.
Yeah, that number 48 machine, he's under fire from the number 5 of Adams. Adams on the high side, the 48 on the inside now halfway down the back stretch. Adams trying to use that high line, get all that momentum up off the corner to see if he can just pull on that number 48 machine. And it looked like he might have cleared him on entry into turn number 3 there. And he will, without a doubt, 100% clear him coming out of turn number 4. New race leader to number 5 of Ben Adams. And Drew, you got to credit that to the pit road time for that number 5 machine. The time spent on pit road for Ben Adams, just a little bit of a fraction of a second faster than that number 48 machine. But that could sometimes be all the difference out there on the racetrack, especially when you think, when you're stopped on pit road going only, 50 miles an hour, 40 miles an hour, just think about how much distance you lose going 50 miles an hour in just a fraction of a second versus going 170 miles an hour up off into the corner. Let's see if we can go on board now with the number 47 machine of Chris Darling and see if we can bring up some of that driver info down there. 180 miles an hour going off into turn number 3. This is not a racetrack that's a slouch of a racetrack. Very, very quick racetrack. Is one of the trucks going to peel off onto pit road? I'm not 100% sure who that might have been. We'll have to see if live timing and scoring updates here in just a minute. Looks like it was Monty Glover in his machine. There he is, the number 10 machine. Now looking a little bit worse for Ware, unfortunately not having the night he was hoping for, being scored down in the 27th position. You can see it right there, 2 laps down, coming down, getting possibly just a splash of fuel, maybe, I don't know, did he get 4 tires there, Drew? Not 100% sure. iRacing is telling me only, well, yeah, I guess it was a 4-tire pit stop, but he's down and away and back out there on to the racetrack in that machine. But back up the front, Ben Adams, your race leader. Matt Cherry in second. The number 16 machine, who was that? That was the 16 of Brian Bradley. Let's go back and see that on the replay here, Drew, because that was almost bad for your race leader here coming out of turn number 2. Talk us through it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that was so close as that 16 makes solid contact. Those leaders are really lucky that they just happen to not be to the inside of that 16, because, man, that could have been the first caution in a very unfortunate way for these 3 leaders.
Yeah, absolutely. And just trying to make sure that we get everything all right here on iRacing before we get back live. But I'll tell you what, things are kind of happening very quickly out there on the racetrack. And let's see if we can see what's happening right up at the front. Cherry still leading the second position battle over the number 51 of Bilson, but Bilson is right there behind him, and Chris Darling just a little bit further back in the number 47. Dumas there in 5th, and then you have a gap back to Robert Dudley and Bill Edwards. This is a side-by-side battle now for that position, and Edwards on the inside of Dudley, gonna try and make that pass, doing a good job here through the center of the tri-oval, just in front of the number 33 of Jeffrey Johnson Jr. and Aaron Mack running in 22nd and 23rd spots. It looks like Edwards going to clear him. Now the 15 of Dudley now under fire from those lap trucks, possibly in danger of losing a little bit more ground to some of the other truck behind him, and he's well up the racetrack there, Drew. I don't think that's exactly where you want to be. You could see some marbles there just a little bit, and possibly that number 15 truck here starting to struggle in this portion of this run. Back behind him and trying to run him down is Jeff Price in the number 14. Price has put together a solid run so far. He's gained 12 positions since the start of this race, but Colin Ullery back behind him, one of our biggest movers of the race so far. He's gained 14 positions, started back in 23rd, now running in 9th. Tim Hammond is currently rounding out your top 10, but that is a good battle. Joshua Sobel, haven't really mentioned his name here tonight. We have Rich Sobel in the chat. He just said, Josh Sobel, you went in 15th and you're currently 11th. Yes, that is true, and he might take away the 10th position here before all too long, Rich, because I'll tell you what, he's definitely mounting a charge in that truck. He does have slightly older tires than some of the trucks he's racing with. The number 30 of Joshua Sobel, that is. Andrew Himmelman in the number 4 machine. We have Tana Himmelman in the chat, not only rooting on Ben Adams, but rooting on this number 4 machine right here of Drew Himmelman. And Drew Himmelman, also one of the biggest movers of the race so far. He's gained 14 positions as well. He's right in front of Nicholas Bradley in the number 40. But back up at the front, Paul Bilson, we just missed the pass, Drew. Bilson got around Cherry, and now he has his eyes set on the number 5 machine as the cross flags are in the air this time.
Absolutely. Already at halfway, I would love to know what the average pace is of this race because it is exceptionally quick. But I think we're really seeing the downside of pitting early is if you don't get enough of a gap, you are at a tire deficit to the cars that or rather trucks in this case, that you are going to be racing. As Paul Bilson was able to clear that 48 truck. 48 truck obviously not content with third, but I mean, he is going to be at a pace disadvantage just because his tires are a lap older. And now that he's going to be racing these guys and running kind of not ideal lines to ensure you get that clean air to the nose, and you're kind of running in a little bit, you very rarely want to follow in the exact tracks of the truck in front of you, but that can put you in a little bit of a compromising position as far as the input into your wheels and whatnot is concerned. It can definitely lead to higher tire wear, and you're already a little bit of a disadvantage. I'm interested to see, can Matt Cherry kind of keep up with these front two guys that he shouldn't really theoretically be able to do? As man, they are close going into one, as now we are focused here on towards the tail end of that top 10 with the 14 of Jeff Price and company, and that 15 truck of Robert Dudley, and that 62 there of Colin Ullery. Heck of a battle here at the tail end of the top 10.
Yeah, Price ran down Dudley, and he's trying to get that 7th position, and they're not all far behind the number 28 machine, who's just a couple of trucks in front of them. Meanwhile, back up at the front, Bilson all over the back bumper of that number 5 machine, and Cherry not going anywhere. Almost contact there through the center of her number 1 and 2 between the number 5 and the 51. And Drew, not the first time we have seen almost contact between those two here tonight.
Yeah, I mean, Bilson has definitely not been lacking aggression, maybe confidence would be a nicer word, here in this race through the first half, as we are now passing that, starting lap 85 of 160. We've seen a little bit of contact involved in that 51 truck, as I think that he really sees a chance for him to put a really, really solid race together in a race where Jeffrey Johnson Jr. and TJ Buck, the two guys ahead of him on points, really aren't having that good of a race, with Jeffrey Johnson down in 23rd and TJ Buck down in 25th. He's the only one of those top 3 that is even in the top 10, and he's in second, fighting for the lead as they are encountering heavy lap traffic. Ben Adams pulling to the inside. I believe that is they're moving quickly, and I'm not in an ideal view. 61 truck, who is... It's fantastic broadcasting here, people. Can't really find out who the 61 truck is.
That's Joey Ducette. Oh, contact there. That's Joey Ducette in the number 61 machine. We're going to definitely go back and take another peek at this one, folks, because this was tight. So Ducette there in the 61 machine. Ben Adams in the 5. The 61. I think he might have caught the wall a little bit. Came down the racetrack right into the right front fender of the number 5 machine of Adams. But luckily, they were able to get it all sorted out. And it is still Ben Adams leading the way here at Las Vegas. Paul Bilson still in the 2nd position, right in front of Matt Cherry. But now the number 5 has to deal with the 971 machine, and that is Maurer in that 971 down in the 18th position. He will be the first truck 1 lap down as your race leaders go by. Bilson there almost looking like he wanted to take an opportune moment to try and take the race lead. But Drew, we're working lap number 88. That means we're probably only a couple of laps away from green flag pit stops again. Like you saw at the top of the screen, as here comes the number 51 machine of Bilson. They're going to be side by side coming to the stripe this time.
Absolutely. I mean, I think either this next time by or the following lap, at the very least, we're going to see that 48 truck come in. But yeah, I mean, man, there have been some close encounters with lap traffic throughout this race. I think when we saw the 5 of Adams and that 971 truck, I think that Adams was probably thinking the 971 would kind of fade a little bit further out of 4, and then he didn't, and that 5 truck ran right up against his doors. We see kind of Matt Cherry do the same thing as now we see somebody else decide to short pit, and I believe that was Chris Darling in that 47 truck, if that good view led me to believe that correctly. But the leader staying out, not quite the first ones on the pit road this time.
Yeah, and that's interesting to see because of all that lap traffic, Darling was able to run down this group of trucks quite significantly. I mean, he had closed right in on your front 3, and so he's decided to short pit here. He knows that he's only going to have to make 2 more stops from here to the end, and so he thinks, you know what, just come down early. It doesn't matter whether I stretch it another lap or 2. I'm still going to have to make 2 more pit stops, and he's going to blink first here with a couple more pit stops left to go from this point on, as we have been caution-free in the first half of the race. But when will this man right here, Paul Bilson, take his trip down pit road? Same thing with the number 5 of Ben Adams. They're going to have to call their shots here. Here comes, I think, the number 48 going to come down pit road. Yes, he does, with the 971 of Maurer right behind him. So we've seen that number 48 machine come down pit road first for the last couple of pit stops. This time it's Chris Darling. It's going to be interesting to see how this all shuffles out. Different strategies in play here at Las Vegas. And Drew, one thing about Las Vegas is sometimes you just got to throw the dice.
Certainly a town known for gambling, that's for sure. I'm kind of surprised we're not seeing somebody gamble, try to stretch this fuel a little bit, because, I mean, they're only 9 laps away from being able to make it on 1 more stop, right? I mean, if 30 laps is close to the fuel limit, I'm surprised. I mean, and maybe we will. I'm surprised we haven't seen somebody try to stretch that out and cut a pit stop out, because I got to believe that someone will try that, right? I mean, if you don't have the pace to win, you might have the strategy to win. As that 77 truck of Doug Neal there peels off of the track and onto pit road. And now let's see how this cycles through with the 48 truck, who I'm not quite sure how this is going to pan out for him yet. I think he is going to be close to the front. I'm trying to click around here and see where everybody else is going to pan out around him.
Yeah, I think Chris Darling with that short pit is actually going to take the de facto race lead once everything sorts out. There he is, and if you look out back, you can see the next truck behind him is the number 48 machine of Matt Cherry, but you know, like we said, Cherry pitted a little bit later, so he'll be able to use those fresh tires to his advantage. One driver I was keeping an eye on was this man right here. That's Joey Ducette in the number 61. It looks like he's pretty much going to be one of the last trucks to come down pit road. Michael Mooney here in the number 88 machine. He's also trying to stay out there for as long as possible to try and cut out that pit stop like you mentioned, Drew. Right in front of the number 48 machine. Cherry had to check up just a little bit there through turn number 1 and 2. But I don't think we're going to see any of the drivers make it to that magic lap number 100. In fact, I don't even really think you need to go to 100. You really just need to go to around lap number 90, 97, 98 or so. And I don't think any drivers are going to make it there. They're just going to be a couple laps short. So Michael Mooney going to peel off and head down pit road. But that will give the race lead to this man right here, Chris Darling, up just about 0.6 of a second over Cherry in the 48. Bilson 2.7 seconds off the race lead, and then Dumas in the 28 machine. But one driver who must have had a not so good pit stop here, Drew, the number 5 machine of Ben Adams. He now finds himself 6.7 seconds off the race lead, and about 5 seconds is possibly a little bit of connection issues as well on that number 5 machine. He has basically got the work cut out for him now.
Yeah, I am kind of watching his cycle on and off of pit road here, so I can figure out exactly why he lost 6.5 seconds to these front guys. I mean, we saw him battling for the lead prior to this cycle of pit stops, and while Chris Darling, I think, pretty much nailed it. I mean, he might not be in the lead, but he's certainly closed. I mean, he's battling for the lead, but I think the 48 truck is very likely to get by him here. I'm just trying to figure out the 5. Did he have a look? I mean, as we're continuing the battle for the lead, it looks like the 5 truck, he disappeared for a second. He's getting his tires changed. And he's right with the 51, exiting the pit stall. Oh, this is very interesting. So he was right next to Bilson as they exited pit road. How did he lose this additional time? This is very interesting, as we are seeing Nat Cherry continue to kind of pull away from him here. Yeah, it looks like the 5 really struggled getting up to speed off of pit road. I'm not sure what happened here.
Definitely could take Ben Adams out of contention here, but there's still a long way to go. Now, just about 62 laps to go this time by, and Bilson in that number 51 machine now got a little bit of clean air on his nose. He now finds himself about 3 seconds back behind Chris Darling, who's just 0.3 of a second behind Matt Cherry. Bill Edwards, he has now got himself up into the 4th position. He just got around Jamar Dumas in the number 28, as Ben Adams now going to get himself back up into the top 5. So a couple of positions kind of shuffling through here in this stage of the run. Jeff Price in the number 14 machine, he's got himself up to 7th. Good run for him. And Joshua Sobel in the number 30 machine, he's doing battle back here with a couple of other trucks. He just got around the number 2 of Justin White. That's going to put Sobel inside the top 10, and I do know Rich Sobel is going to be excited to see his son up there inside the top 10. A great looking number 30 truck right now. Now the bad news for Sobel is he's got a pretty big gap to close in on the number 62 of Colin Ullery, who you can see right there, almost 3/4 of the back straight, and Ullery himself finding himself 4.5 seconds behind that man right there, Robert Dudley, who himself is 2.5 seconds behind the number 28 machine. So some gaps growing here, Drew, but I'm not also too surprised with that. I mean, we've been caution-free for the first 100 laps here. Great to see here. So much green flag racing.
It certainly has, and I think that all of this green flag racing has kind of put us in an interesting situation regarding strategy. I think we're going to have about 10 laps, right? I think most of these leaders are going to pit with 10 laps to go. Do you take tires? Do you take 2? Do you take 4? Peter, I got to say, based on our experiences racing each other, I think you typically make the better decisions of the two of us. What would you do in this situation?
You know, it really depends on fall off. We haven't talked much about fall off here tonight, Drew. I mean, here we are 10 laps into this run. And I'm going to bring up previous lap times up there at the top of the screen. So the fastest lap of this race was a 30.698 run by Ben Adams. They're, after 10 laps, about a second slower than the fastest lap of the race. So at some point, they're probably going to plateau. The tires are going to plateau just a little bit. It really depends on how much of the fall off is like. If the fall off over the run is 2.5 seconds, you might gain, 8-9 seconds not taking any tires, but you're going to give that up in about 5 laps. Maybe 2 tires is an option. 2 tires is a gamble. Of course, we're in Vegas, so sometimes you got to throw the dice. And if you're in maybe the 3rd position or 4th position, you're a ways back and you want to throw the dice, maybe take 2 tires. I don't think no tires is an option. I think it's either 2 tires or 4 tires once they finally do come down pit road. Sometimes, and these drivers, they can see what their tire wear is like. If they're wearing out the right side tires much more than they are the left sides, well, that kind of just leads to the possibility that 2 tires is the best option, and it really depends on how these drivers drive the racetrack. Some drivers are harder on their tires, some drivers are easier on their tires. It goes back to driving style, Drew. I'm one of those race car drivers. I like to drive the race car off of the right rear tire. I like to pitch the car in late. I like to get it down to the bottom of the racetrack, down to that apex, and kind of use the throttle to modulate the truck turning. And really what that does is that likes to overheat the right rear tires. What that sometimes does, though, is that then changes the kind of swings the car to be right side tire wear heavy, which might lead that opportunity to make that call to make a 2 tire stop. It's going to be interesting to see. I would be surprised if 2 tires wins the race, though. I will be honest with you. 2 tires doesn't often work in iRacing. It does at times, doesn't often. But we'll have to wait and see if that's the case. Now, one driver back here, the number 5 machine of Ben Adams, he's really trying to run down the trucks in front of him. He's running a little bit different groove. He's running up against the wall. He finds himself 2 seconds back behind Bill Edwards, who in the number 50 machine put together a very solid run here tonight, just outside the top 3. Then you find Bilson, who's 1.89 seconds back behind Chris Darling, who himself really hasn't dropped all too much time on Matt Cherry. And Drew, I was expecting Cherry to take the race lead and kind of drive away with the show, but Darling's hanging with him in that second spot.
Yeah, I agree. I was as well, as I think we are seeing a bit of an early pit stop. Ordered that 5 must have had a huge problem. He was 3.5 seconds behind the leader that last time. I'm going to go back and watch and see if I can figure out exactly what happened with him.
Yeah, I think it's just possibly connection issues. This is on the replay, and I think it was just connection. I think he backed out of it in that number 5 machine. He might be off the pace here, kind of coasting that number 5 machine. So it doesn't look like anything necessarily major happened. I think he had that connection issue and just kind of backed off as to possibly not have any issues. Maybe he tried to reset something and see if he could fix some of those connection issues he's been having here tonight. Not 100% sure, but and there he goes again, having even more connection issues. So hopefully he can get that sorted out here as this race continues to go on. But back up at the front, Matt Cherry holding on to the lead. Paul Bilson, though, in the number 51 machine, he's slowly closing in, folks. Over the last couple laps, he's been about 0.3 of a second faster than the front 2 drivers. So definitely on a little bit of a charge in that bright red machine, and Bilson definitely been strong all night. Adams now sliding back to the 9th position. Do want to mention Joshua Sobel in the number 30. He lost the spot, but here comes the number 5 machine of Adams. He's going to come down pit road here, and this could be part of that connection issue. It's going to be interesting to see here, Drew, because he hasn't been out there on the racetrack for all too long. He's been out there now for about 18 laps or so. Perhaps maybe he's thinking of splitting this last portion of the race into thirds. Maybe he's thinking about the connection issues he's been having. Not 100% sure, but I definitely know that number 5 machine is on pit road and getting 4 fresh tires.
Yeah, it's got to be disappointing because I know he restarted this last stint 7 seconds behind the leader. And before he started having whatever problem he is currently experiencing, he had cut that down to 3.5. He had cut a 7-second deficit in half. He had shown incredible pace from kind of running that different higher line, as you had mentioned earlier. So that has to be incredibly frustrating to literally cut a 7-second deficit in half, and then to have whatever type of problems that he's having that then cost him several additional, 10 seconds it was, because he was 3.5 behind the leader, ended up 13.5 right there before the pit stop. As we were seeing the 50 truck a little bit, I don't think there's any contact here. Did he just miss pit road? That is very, very high trying to get onto pit road here.
Yeah, I don't think there was any physical contact. I think iRacing might have registered some contact between them, because there's definitely a little bit of right rear damage, kind of hard to see. Let's see if we can zoom in just a little bit. There's that right rear damage on that number 50 truck. So we'll have to see how that all plays out for Edwards, but he was one of the drivers who elected to come down pit road here at this stage of the race. Back up at the front, though, here comes Paul Bilson in the number 51 machine, and looks like he's going to get around the 47 of Darling pretty easily, so he's going to set his sights now on your race leader, the number 48 of Cherry. Jeff Price in the number 14 machine, he's now got himself up into the top 5. He's running in 4th. Robert Dudley in 5th. So it's been a great race here tonight, Drew. I mean, we're closing in on what will be the penultimate pit stop. In fact, we still see drivers on pit road. Brian Bradley in the number 16 machine is on pit road right here. Haven't really talked about Bradley all too much here tonight. He had that contact with the outside wall, but he's going to come down to his pit crew and see how that thing's going. Jacob Schaffet as well in the 00 machine. Haven't mentioned his name, but at the start of the race, he's now working his way back out onto the racetrack. Been a quiet night for the 00 machine. Had put together some decent runs at the beginning of the season in that 00 machine, but definitely not having the pace here tonight. Currently being scored 3 laps down, although as things continue to cycle through, I'm sure that 3 laps down will then turn into probably 2 or possibly even 1 lap down, but definitely running in the 20s here tonight. Ben Adams in the number 5 machine, he's currently being scored 21st, 1 lap down, making that early pit stop. Definitely trying to throw the dice a little bit in his favor. And, you know, one thing about his strategy there, Drew, is I think he was thinking about splitting those final runs into 2 thirds. And I gotta say, I like that strategy because as it looks like the number 47 machine of Chris Darling has come down pit road as well. There he is, working his way now back out onto the racetrack. So he was running up there inside the top 3. And Matt Cherry now, your race leader, come down pit road. Paul Bilson. Oh, and Bilson missed his pit stall. That is going to be heartbreak for the number 51 machine. You absolutely hate to see that as a race machine driver, because going through your pit stall and what will be the penultimate pit stop here tonight, you're going to lose a ton of time.
Yeah, I mean, he did a really good job minimizing the amount of time lost. I don't ever think he came to a complete stop. He threw that thing in reverse and got it back into his pit stall. I mean, probably lost 2 or 3 tenths, which is not bad to miss your pit stall with, right? But, I mean, I don't think we're going to see this race won by 2 or 3 tenths, right? So I think that could be I mean, it likely will be a very costly mistake, but we'll see if he is able to recover. But Chris Darling with that short pit, able to recapture this lead. What is this tire deficit going to be like for that 47 truck, though, as we still will have one more pit stop, and I think that this final stop is really going to determine who is able to win this race, as we are seeing the 971 and that 15 truck staying out for quite a ways longer. I agree with you, though. I don't think any of these guys can make it here, so I just got a question as to why you would stay out at this point.
Yeah, you know, maybe it is thinking, hey, if I catch a caution, you know, I'm going to be right up here with these guys. I mean, Maurer definitely showed pace in the early running here tonight, and then he did fall 1 lap down towards the middle portion of this event, and he's staying out there. Bill Edwards came down pit road early. He's actually gotten himself up to the race lead with that undercut there, Drew. But he's got 5 lap older tires than Chris Darling, who's running him down currently in second. Darling right in front now of the number 32 machine, and the number 32 machine is driven by Peter Serto. Serto had a good start to the night. Now he's finding himself 1 lap down in what would be presumably the trucks that will battle for the race win. But look at that number 48 of Cherry here. He's got a run on Chris Darling. Remember, Darling blinked first again 1 lap before Cherry, and Cherry going to try and use those fresh tires to his advantage. But one thing I noticed about that last run, Drew, we saw Cherry run down Darling, and he got around Chris, but it didn't really go anywhere. Darling was able to hang with him, and they were both caught by the 51 of Bilson as that run went on. Of course, Bilson and Cherry both pitted on the same lap. There's a couple of tenths between both of them. But I think we're setting ourselves up for a great finish here as this race goes on. Do want to highlight some of the other drivers a little bit further back in the pack, and back around the 10th position. There's Joshua Sobel, Andrew Himmelman in the number 4 machine running right there, not all too far in front of Nicholas Bradley in the number 40. Himmelman has much fresher tires than Bradley, so I expect to see Himmelman continue to pull away. Both Sobel and Himmelman, the 10th and 11th place drivers, pitted on the same lap. And then you find Justin White in the number 2 machine. Kind of a quiet night for him, but putting together a solid run in that truck. He has slightly fresher tires than Himmelman, so possibly might be able to run him down. We've actually seen the 2 and the 4 kind of racing each other pretty much this entire race. And I think we'll see some more of that as the race continues on. Looks like a backup at the front. Bill Edwards and the number 50 machine running that 911 scheme here today. He's lost the race lead. So, and look at this. Here comes the 51 of Bilson. He's been able to erase that deficit he had on the 48 machine there. Drew, possibly a little bit of lap traffic, as I think that's Aaron Mack there in the number 35 machine letting a couple of these leaders go by. But this is, once again, a three-way battle for the race lead with 36 laps to go.
Really, really impressive recovery. You know, it's always so frustrating when you're trying to get into your pit stall and you're not always being super aggressive, and you just make a little bit of a miscalculation applying the brakes. I think that 48 truck looked like he was going to make a little bit of contact with that truck just one digit lower than him in the 47 of Chris Darling. But I think it's a heck of a recovery, right? He's basically put himself, I think, in about the same position he would have been in, whether he made that mistake or not. So he's right there in it. And Chris Darling doing that a little bit of a short pit here. I think he's going to be, again, just a little bit of a tire deficit, and I expect the 48 and the 51 to be able to get back by him. But now the question is, we can make it from here in about 4 laps? What do these guys do, right?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, that is, the pit window will open, like you say, and it's going to be interesting to see. We're going to see some drivers come down pit road, and basically they're going to make their bed here very, very soon.
I got to imagine that you know, if one of these leaders, because they are already about half a second slower, so if they pit here in a couple laps, they're going to be about a second off pace, and they're going to be a second a lap quicker for a good chunk of 15, 20 laps. That's going to be a really difficult thing to overcome. I got to think that the guy who pits first is really going to dictate to the rest of these top 5, with Jeff Price kind of being the last guy in 5th position, 2.5 seconds behind the leaders. I think that those are the guys that are still in contention for this win, right? I think that 6th at 9.5-ish seconds, it's too far back to really make strategy at this point of a viable option to try to snag this win. So I think once one of the first out of the top 5 guys gets on pit road, and we know if they took 2 or 4, I think that's really going to dictate to the rest of these guys what they need to do.
Yeah, and I gotta say, these front 3 drivers have put on an absolute show for us here in this middle portion of the race. Now we, of course, ever so closing in on the checkered flag here tonight. We do have a question in the chat from Rich Sobel. Who's going to need to pit? Well, the answer is everyone is going to need to come down pit road for one final pit stop, and that one final pit stop will definitely set up for a grandstand finish here at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Tana Himmelman letting us know that the number 5 machine of Ben Adams, he's been having some overheating issues in that number 5 truck. And Drew, you and I know in sim racing, the one kicker that we don't have an engine that's going to fail without some form of damage, or we're not going to have a tire just randomly blow, or we're not going to see debris that we run over, or, you know, a camshaft break, you know, whatever. Mechanical failures, they're pretty rare in iRacing, but the one spot you can have a failure is your computer, and it sounds like overheating is the cause for the the issues on that number 5 machine. So Ben Adams, we saw him strong early in the race, but here just trying to nurse it home to get a top 10, currently running in the 9th position right behind Joshua Sobel now, who has got himself up into 8th. And here comes, in fact, let's watch this battle, because there's the number 2 of Justin White. He's trying to get around Ben Adams as well. This is a battle for position. The number 5 machine headed down pit road, and Drew, that was almost contact, and the number 5 machine, he's going to miss the entrance to pit road. And I gotta say, I think that's a smart move. He probably tried to commit to coming down pit road, noticed that the number 2 machine was about to run him over, and he said, you know what, I don't want to get run over this time. I'm just gonna let it all happen, let it all play out, come down pit road the next time, because it could have been heartbreak for the number 5 machine.
Yeah, that was a very late commitment to pit road there. I thought that was going to be our first caution of the race, which would have drastically changed what this was going to be, as now we are queuing up the replay here. I mean, I don't know if he didn't call it. Yeah, he faded to the middle of the track. I mean, we've seen some impressive pace by Ben Adams, but that certainly is a bit of a mistake there. I am shocked that 2 truck didn't just completely turn him. Yeah, and definitely aborting that was the right decision. So one interesting thing, the 14 truck of Jeff Price, 2.5 seconds behind the leaders before this last round of pit stops, pitted. He is now 15th, 1 lap down, running 31 threes compared to Paul Bilson's last lap at a 32-1. 7/10-ish. Will that be enough for when these guys come down pit road? Is that going to put that 14 truck in a position to potentially kind of snag this win where he hasn't really been contending for the lead all night? It's an interesting strategy. I definitely don't think it's going to cost him a ton of positions unless, knock on wood, an unfortunate caution were to come out and trap him a lap down. It's going to be interesting to see where that 14 truck comes out in this kind of roll of the dice, so to speak, here in Las Vegas.
And you look out back at the number 51 of Bilson, because Chris Darling is looking for the race lead in that number 47 machine as they go off into turn number 1. We saw contact earlier in the race there, I think, between the number 51, was that the number 5 or was that the number 51 and the number 48 machine that almost sent the 48 of Cherry spinning. But Drew, one thing that's I'm sure weighing in that number 48 machine is that last pit stop. We saw it all go wrong from it at Atlanta 2 weeks ago, but here comes Chris Darling trying to get the race lead back there side by side coming out of turn number 4.
And while they're doing that, 48 truck onto pit road, will he, is this the right decision? Will he make a mistake as we saw last week as Chris Darling looking to make a move, as now we're focused here on that 48 truck down pit road? What is he going to do tire-wise, right? I believe that 14 truck, based on where he fell down to, took 4 tires. I got to say, if I'm one of these guys, if I'm the 48 truck, I would try to take 2 here. I know that's a risky gamble. We haven't had a caution to where you can try that out, which I am a huge fan of doing early in a race, as Chris Darling now follows subsequently that following lap. I think the 48 truck definitely took 4. What is Chris Darling going to do, and what is that 51 truck going to do?
Yeah, can confirm that Matt Cherry did take 4 tires on that truck here with now just 23 laps to go. So we have seen these drivers blink first. Rich Sobel saying, pit now, Josh, pit now, Josh. We'll have to see whether or not Josh heeds those words. There he is in his Toyota Tundra, working his way through turn number 1 and 2. But what about Bilson? Here's Bilson on pit road right behind the number 40 machine. That is the number 40 driven by Nicholas Bradley, about to fall 1 lap down. These 3 drivers now, your top 3, trying to get themselves to the start-finish line first. But Chris Darling in that number 47 machine, he's trying to hustle his way back out there onto the racetrack. Here's Matt Cherry in the number 48 machine, going to take him 3 wide on the high side down the backstretch. There's Doug Neal, and just like that, Darling is going to fall behind the number 48 machine. So advantage Matt Cherry right now in this battle for the front 3. We'll have to see how the 51 machine of Bilson cycles through, because he is trying to head off pit road. There he is, just got dropped off the jacks. Let's see where the number 48 machine, there he is. The 48 of Matt Cherry gonna flash on by, and on your right side right there you'll see Chris Darling, but the only advantage Bilson now has is 2 lap fresher tires than the 48 machine, 1 lap fresher tires than the number 47. He has time to run him down, but Drew, they're disappearing off into the distance.
Oh, it was Chris Darling almost made contact with the 88 truck through 3 and 4. They might have made contact. That was very, very close to the exit of 4. That 47 truck closed down a ton, as now we're looking at him coming into 3. You look at this closing rate with this 88 truck. Darling kind of maintained that high line as the 88 fades right in front of him. Oh, I think he barely avoided him, but man, that is not what you want to see with a very limited amount of laps left to catch that 48 truck out in front. As that 48, we talked about that 14 truck of Jeff Price. He was able to temporarily take the lead, but now he has lost that to that 48 truck of Matt Cherry, who is in a really good position. This is going to take a really big effort by both the 47 of Chris Darling and the 51 of Paul Bilson to be able to catch that 48 at this point.
Yeah, absolutely. You'll see the field flash by. I want to give a huge shout out to one of the sponsors that usually we don't say, oh man, what a shame we haven't had a yellow flag. But we haven't had a yellow flag, which means we haven't had a Brookstone Animal Hospital Lucky Dog Award winner. So got to get them a huge shout out here tonight. Perhaps we'll get a caution flag before the end of the race. We'll get to use this graphic again. But I'm sure all these drivers probably not all too upset about us not using that graphic. But if you have an animal and you're in the greater Atlanta, Georgia area, make sure to go check out our friends over at Brookstone Animal Hospital because they are a series sponsor here of the National Sim Racing Association. And also check out our friends Simbox sponsoring the series, as well as, of course, Mack's Graphics. Tonight is the Mack's Graphics 240. Make sure you find them on Facebook right there, facebook.com/MXGRAFX. And you can find out how to get a little bit more of graphics, whether you need basically any type of graphic, they can hook you up. Meanwhile, there is your current race leader, Matt Cherry, Chris Darling, 2.1 seconds back. Jeff Price now back to third. Darling was able to make that move. Remember, Price has older tires. In fact, you can see that up at the top of your screen now. Jeff Price, 13 laps on his tires. Chris Darling, only 5. Bilson now at around 5 as he goes across the start-finish line. That will continue to update up there. So that kind of sets the tone for who's pitted and when. So you can possibly see who might be closing in on who. One driver who will definitely be closing in on drivers in front of him, Joshua Sobel. He's trying to close in on the number 33 of Jeffrey Johnson, who has quite old tires at this point in time. Great job by that number 33 machine here tonight, Drew, because Jeffrey Johnson, remember at one point he was, I believe, a lap down in that number 33 truck. So he's had a pretty strong late portion of the race. Yes, he has older tires, which was able to get him in front of the number 48 machine of Cherry, but Jeffrey Johnson Jr. really hanging in tough here tonight in that number 33.
Absolutely. I think any time that, you start... First caution.
And that happened right there. That was that closing rate. I'd mentioned that number 33 was holding tough, and he was on older tires. And closing rate just all of a sudden caught out this gaggle of cars. We'll see it here on the 3Y TV replay. The 33 washes up the racetrack a little bit on those old tires. There's contact. And then the number 16 machine involved too, Brian Bradley. Sobel goes for a spin, and that's a tough break there for Joshua Sobel because he was on the lead lap, and now just like that, he's going to fall one lap down. He's going to fall off the lead lap all the way back to the 20th position. Now, the good news here, Drew, is that the trucks aren't that badly damaged as we're back live here, but that's going to change everything. And the reason I say that's going to change everything is all these drivers, whoa, I was just going to say, I think they're going to come down pit road. Well, I take that back. It looks like we don't have, well, if we have a mixed bag here. The number 14 of Jeff Price, he's going to come down pit road. Drew, man, this is going to be a tough one to call. We have some drivers staying out, some drivers coming down pit road. We've seen that tires are definitely an advantage, and this man right here was the first truck to decide to come down pit road, but he's going to lose quite a few spots to cars who stay out. This is going to make for a fun finish.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see how many trucks. It's so hard to determine, without some fancy schmancy NBC stuff where they get the live timing and scoring as to who pitted and who didn't. If Jeff Price was the first one onto pit road and all these guys followed him, like I think the majority did, as we are now looking at our Brookstone Animal Hospital Lucky Dog Award. That is the 40 truck.
of Nicholas Bradley with a nice little patriotic scheme there. Thank you to Brookstone Animal Hospital for sponsoring the Lucky Dog Award. But if Jeff Price here, if he's the first guy off the pit road with fresh tires, I think he's in a really good position to take this race to the top three.
Yeah, there he is. I'm looking up and down live timing and scoring. So the front 6 trucks, Matt Cherry, Chris Darling, Paul Bilson, Colin Ullery, Justin White, Andrew Himmelman, those front 6 did not come down pit road. And then you have Jeff Price in the number 14 machine. He took 4 tires. Bill Edwards in the 50 took 4 tires. Nathan Maurer, 4 tires. We don't have a whole lot of trucks on the lead lap. We have 14 trucks on the lead lap. So it's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out. Of course, we're going to have about a 10 lap shootout or so when we go back green flag racing here shortly. But the pace truck lights are still on. Let me see if I can possibly go down and see if we can pick up one of these drivers up near the front of the field and get a quick word. Let's see if we can bring in the Horizon Motorsports number 14 machine of Jeff Price here. Jeff Price, Peter Short and 3 Wide TV booth. You got a copy?
What's up, guys?
I'll tell you what, man. You got 4 fresh ones on. You're going to be looking to charge your way to the front. You're going to have about 11 laps to do so. You think you're going to be able to do it?
I'm going to do the best I can. I'm going to be straight with you, boss. I don't want to wreck this thing. This tribute, back channel production truck's been fast all night. Driver's been the problem. Messed up my first pit stop. Been behind ever since. I'm going to do the best I can. I got a really fast guy behind me, and Bill and Nathan. So hopefully one of us 3 can get up here and get this win. Great race so far. Hopefully we can finish this out with a green flag run to the end.
Well, I'll tell you what, it definitely has been a great race. Second race of the road, we've had a long green flag run. Was that what you were expecting to see here tonight before we let you go?
You know, I was really hoping it was going to be, and it has impressed me that we made it this long. We'll be straight. A lot of the lap guys haven't been giving the leaders the most respect today, but, you know, they raced us clean, so if they can just keep doing that while they're racing, that's fine. It's a lot of fun.
All right, well, Jeff, we'll let you get back to it here. Best of luck here in the closing stages. You'll have 11 laps to get to the front.
Absolutely, man. I appreciate it. Thank you guys for broadcasting. Thank you, Back Channel for Production, for letting me do this tribute paint. Never forget, guys.
All right, well, folks, that was the number 14 machine of Jeff Price here, trying to work his way up to the front. And Drew, definitely going to be interesting here.
Yeah, I gotta say,
for the finish.
Yeah, so to speak, if I were a gambling man here in Las Vegas, I probably would put money on this 14 truck. The front guys dropped a second off of their quickest lap times here in that last run. There's 10 laps to go, 11 laps to go here on this restart. I think Jeff Price has put himself in a fantastic position, depending on if he's able to negotiate or navigate rather these guys rather quickly.
And you can't count out Bill Edwards there in the number 50 machine as well, because he's on the high line.
And 48 truck accelerating with the 47 truck of Chris Darling, who is outside. Great restart by Matt Cherry here, as he's going to lead the field as the top 4 go single file into one. Quite a mess of cars behind him, as Jeff Price is going to be able to nudge out that number 4 truck, Andrew Himmelman, for 5th. And here he comes, Jeff Price, making a move behind these front guys who are making moves themselves, with the 47 of Chris Darling looking to take the lead, with Paul Bilson moving to the inside here of Matt Cherry. Matt Cherry, good restart, but at the end of that lap, not in the best of positions, as he's up to almost 3 wide right there. 62 Colin Ullery looking to make a move as well. Paul Bilson solidly up the inside. Is he going to be making a move to the inside of Chris Darling? No, Chris Darling throws a block to the inside as we have a caution.
Caution flag is out. There's a truck around on the backstretch trying to figure out who it is.
Travis White here. Pete, if you are speaking, I'm sorry, I can't hear you. But Travis White back here in that 23 truck. Looks like going through 1 and 2. Quite high. Yeah, I think he just loses that truck all by himself. Spins under the apron.
I mean, I've seen iRacing not throw yellows for more significant incidents, but here we go. That is certainly not what that 14 of Jeff Price wanted to see, right? Restarting in 7th, he gained 2 spots up to 5th, but starting on the inside of that 3rd row, I think he was wanting that run to go to the end. This is definitely what those guys who didn't pit wanted to see right here. Yeah, as you see that 23 truck, it just gets loose. We really haven't seen that much tonight. That's kind of a surprising incident here by Travis. He's going to be disappointed, and now he's going to be pushed back to the last car 1 lap down.
Yeah, absolutely. So tough break for that number 23 machine. Let's see if there may be a little bit of technical issues with the with Discord. Not 100% sure. Looks like I'm coming through fine on my end, Drew, but definitely there's something going up with Discord here tonight. I'm not 100% sure what it is. Maybe it's the Discord server that we're in or something, but it seems like everything's coming through okay on my neck of the woods. In fact, I'm the one doing the broadcast, so you guys get the raw feed of my voice here on YouTube. Rich Sobel in the chat saying, glad to see you miss that. Yeah, definitely Sobel able to squeak through that one. The tough break for Joshua Sobel is he is still down in 17th position right now. I believe your lucky dog is this man right here. So we'll get to use the graphic for the 3rd time here tonight. The Brookstone Animal Hospital Lucky Dog Award winner is Doug Milner in that number 6 Ford. He gets himself back on the lay lap. We'll have 15 trucks here for this shootout to the finish out in the desert. And Drew, long green flag run, just to open up the race. And all of a sudden, things heat up out in the desert. And we got a couple of cautions back to back.
Yeah, and I got you now, Pete. Yeah, it's not surprising, right? I think that when you get 1 caution late, it's very likely to have that continue, which certainly is not what you want to see after such a fantastic race through, I don't know, the first 90% of it, right? But it's not super surprising you get a bunch of guys in close proximity late in the race where you want to talk about, we talked earlier, or I brought up earlier that, you can't win the race on lap 4. Well, you can put yourself in a position to win the race on lap 153 or 154 out of 160. And I think that's why we're seeing this kind of stuff. Not surprising at all. But certainly not what, again, that 14 wants to see of Jeff Price up there with that 4 fresh Goodyear tires. He definitely wants this thing to go at least from here, green to the end. It's the only way he's going to make this strategy work.
Yeah, absolutely. And I got to give a huge shout out to some of the people a little bit further back. I mean, Nathan Maurer, I think he was 1 lap down or very close to going a lap down there in 9th. Ben Adams in that number 5 machine. Also, great job for him with those overheating issues, running in 8th, just on the back half of the top 10. Andrew Himmelman currently rounding out your top 10 in the number 4. But definitely a good run for a lot of these drivers here tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. There's so many of these guys that are in the top 10, including Chris Darling, Colin Ullery, Jeff Price, Bill Edwards, Robert Dudley, Nathan Maurer, Andrew Himmelman, all started outside of the top 10. And all of this when the vast majority of the race was under green. Heck of a job recovering from less than stellar starting positions.
Yeah, absolutely. And, one thing about this race for sure here tonight is the fact that Matt Cherry, coming into tonight, no driver has led more laps than the number 48 machine of Matt Cherry. And here tonight, he's led a good portion of laps. Now, he's going to restart here in second. We're going to have a 5-lap shootout out in the desert. Just how far can Jeff Price get up? He was weaving his way 3 wide under that last green flag run. It's going to be a wild finish here, Drew. I mean, I cannot tell you, out of these front 6 trucks, which truck is going to make their way to victory lane here in about 5 laps time. It is going to be a great finish. Rich Sobel in the chat is amped up for this finish. I'm amped up for this finish. It is going to be a shootout here in the desert in Las Vegas. Who is going to hit the lottery here at Las Vegas.
Yeah, I think it's time to go all in, so to speak, and this big game of poker between these top 5 drivers. I really think the winner is going to come out of this top 5. I mean, Chris Darling, Matt Cherry, Paul Bilson, they've all been up here at the front this whole run, but doesn't really matter at this point, right? You can't win it with 5 laps to go as we are green here. Chris Darling, heck of a restart, as he is going to pull quite a gap here, about 0.3 of a second on Paul Bilson and Matt Cherry, as those guys are really battling here for that second position. As here they go, we see that power of the draft. Paul Bilson, oh, so close going into 3s. They're going to be in contact. Yes, Paul Bilson, is he going to save it? He does. Heck of a save by Paul Bilson. Jeff Price, the real winner of that is, oh, they're not done wrecking. Huge wreck.
Oh my goodness, cars everywhere here on the front stretch. The 51 machine of Bilson involved, the 15 machine of Dudley involved, and folks, that is not what you want to see here at Las Vegas in the closing laps. And it all happened, and this is going to be a hard one to break down, Drew, because this happened all the way going off into turn number 1. I'm trying to get a good angle just so we can see what happened here, and there was a little bit of contact there with the 48 and the 51, and the 48 tried to give room, and then just really Bilson was trying to save it. Too many trucks at the wrong place at the wrong time, and just like that, the 2 of Justin White getting launched up into the catch fence. Great job there. I think that was the number 4 of Himmelman getting through. Doug Neal getting into the back of the number 78 machine right there at the end. But a couple of these trucks who have been fast all night long getting involved in this one here late. Let's see if we can go back and watch the number 4 machine of Himmelman and see if we can see what happened with him. Did he get through this unscathed here, Drew, in this number 4 machine? Watch everything break out in front of him.
Yeah, I mean, when you're in this position, you see all this stuff happening, you're just kind of letting off. Oh no, that's a substantial impact with that. I believe that's the 15. He did avoid that 51 trick of Paul Bilson. Man, it's so unfortunate that we saw all of these guys that were so quick for the vast majority of this race, and then you get these rash of late race cautions, and the track and the race and your fellow competitors don't care that you've been one of the top 3 all race. You can get caught up in this stuff just as easily as anybody else, and that's unfortunate that we saw Paul Bilson and that 48 truck Matt Cherry both get really caught up in that. And I think, wow, as we see a really, really scary view from that 2 truck, wow, that is something. When you see a truck get up in the air like that at a non-super speedway track, it's really unfortunate, right? We've seen these guys run up front for the vast majority of this race, and certainly in the 51 of Paul Bilson's case, he is not going to finish up there.
Here we go, on board with the number 30 of Sobel. He was able to get on the binders, get down. You see cars going everywhere. That was the number 40 of Bradley coming down the racetrack. And I'll tell you what, here, Drew, I mean, a lot of trucks involved in this one. But things up at the front have gotten a little bit interesting now, because we're going to have to jump back live here. And it is the number 47 machine of Chris Darling, Colin Ullery in the number 62 machine, who has kind of had a quiet night. I mean, we haven't talked about him all too much. He was one of those drivers who decided to gamble and stay out on the tires he was on when we had that caution there with about 13, 14 laps to go. And now he finds himself in second. And then Jeff Price, we talked to him just a little bit ago. He's now running up there in third. And then Bill Edwards in the September 11th Patriotic Scheme. In fact, we got quite a few cars up there with the Patriotic Schemes. Darling, Price, Edwards, and company. He now finds himself up in fourth. He's also on fresher tires. And then you find Matt Cherry, who's been very, very fast here tonight. But like Atlanta, Drew, things unrailing just a little bit for that number 48 late in the race.
Yeah, certainly. Yeah, I really think that Chris Darling has put himself in a good position. But, man, it's all really going to depend on what the I think the 14 is the guy that is going to be most likely to challenge that 47 truck. what kind of restart can Jeff Price get? If he can nail this restart and be on the bumper of that 47 going into one, I got to imagine that tire advantage is really, really going to play in to deciding who wins this race. If he's not, I think 2 laps, barring, I believe we have more than one green-white checkered attempt. And if we do, if we get another caution, it's just so tricky. It's so hard to be able to predict, exactly how things are going to play out. But Chris Darling certainly is the one that's going to be able to determine his own future versus everybody else. It's going to kind of be up to chance and what other people do around them.
Yeah, absolutely. And this racetrack is going to be red hot. Hopefully 1 lap away from now. You can see the field there on the backstretch here at La Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Chris Darling will lead us to the green flag. Colin Ullery in second, Jeff Price third, Bill Edwards in fourth, then Matt Cherry in fifth, Ben Adams nursing an overheating computer in sixth, Nathan Maurer in seventh, Jeffrey Johnson Jr. in 8th, Andrew Himmelman in 9th, and Jamar Dumas in the number 28 machine, who has quite a bit of rear-end damage to that number 28 machine. He's down in 10th. Then Paul Bilson, who had that spectacular save in 11th. We're going to find out how this is all going to play out because the pace truck is going to head down pit road. The green flag is in the flagman's hand, and the green flag is back in the air here at Las Vegas. Chris Darling with a good restart in that number 47 machine. He's going to jump out front here, but got to keep an eye on that number 14 machine because that number 14 machine is moving up to the front and not 100% sure what's going on. There we go, finally able to get back up to the front because Jeff Price has got himself up into second.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is the restart that 14 truck needed, and he is coming to the outside of Chris Darling. It's going to take a heck of an effort by Chris Darling as we are coming to take the white flag this time by. Is that 14 truck going to be able to get by him? He has some help in that 50 truck, but here we go, 3 wide into 1.
Look at Colin Ullery down on the inside. We're 3 wide. Look at Bill Edwards trying to get a run on the high side. This is 3 wide action on 3 wide TV for the checkered flag. Jeff Price in the number 14 machine gets his nose out front in front of Chris Darling. They're coming to the checkered flag. The 14 machine yaws out. It looks like it's going to be checkered flag for Jeff Price. Darling, one last ditch effort, not able to do anything. Price goes to victory lane here at Vegas. What a run to the finish. Darling second. Bill Edwards comes home third. Colin Ullery coming home in fourth. Boy, oh boy, there, Drew. 3 wide for the checkered flag on the final lap. And Jeff Price, you said it, Drew. The fresh tires making all the difference.
Yeah, I mean, it's impossible to know, if you should or shouldn't pit. But, when you restart 6th with 10 to go with fresh tires, you got to like the position that you put yourself in. And that's what Jeff Price did. He was aggressive on that restart, but certainly not reckless. And he was able to now do the victory burnouts in Las Vegas. He gambled and he hit blackjack. Oh, as we have some drama on pit road, Paul Bilson gets into the 48 truck. It's not terribly surprising, but certainly some emotions, some anger displayed there by Paul Bilson with that 48 truck.
Trying to see if we can possibly get a quick peek of that. Don't think we can, unfortunately. With how that all went down. Well, let's see. Let's see if we can see here. So this is coming down pit road, and I'm not seeing anything just yet here, Drew. Oh, there we go. Boink. And definitely showing a little bit of displeasure there. And Bilson, I'm sure he's thinking he's got a little bit of a target on his back, but the number 14 of Jeff Price, he's going to stay out there and burn it down until that motor does blow on that Chevy Silverado. I'm sure he's super stoked to get to victory lane. We're going to take a quick break here on 3YTV. We're going to line up interviews for the top 3 finishers here tonight. It's going to be some interesting interviews with Edwards, Darling, and Price. We'll be right back here on 3YTV. All right, folks, welcome back to the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. I've caught up with the third place finisher here tonight, Bill Edwards. And Bill, you were one of those drivers who decided to come down pit road late with about 15 laps to go. You gave up a little bit of track position, but man, were those 4 fresh tires good for you in the September 11th scheme here tonight. Tell us a little bit about your thoughts going down pit road there late in the going.
Oh yeah, no, I thought everybody was gonna be coming in for tires at some point there, but yeah, tires are king here at Vegas, man. You gotta have them.
Well, it definitely was a great race here tonight. I mean, we had that really long green flag run. Basically about 140 laps of green flag running here at Las Vegas in a 160 lap race. Tell us a little bit about that long green flag run. How it went for you. How your pit stops went. Did everything go to plan, or were there a few hiccups along the way?
Oh, pretty much went towards plan. I know I was kind of just I just riding and kind of seeing what other people were tending to do. I seen Cherry started to do his short pit, which he's done that. I think he did that at the last race we were in, and started to short pit just a little bit more and a little bit more. So I just actually went out and I short pit quite a bit. I went out and ran all my tires off in about 15 laps, and then did a quick short pit, which bought me some time a little bit. But yeah, no, that was a fun race for sure. That finish was just crazy. three wide in that last lap. So
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it isn't all too often here on 3 Wide TV. We see 3 Wide for the win on the final lap, but that was the case here tonight. Of course, you are running the September 11th scheme here tonight. It is September 11th. Tell us a little bit about why you ran that scheme. I mean, it's fairly obvious, but tell us a little bit about what it means to you to run that scheme tonight.
oh yeah, no, I'm sure just like everybody else, I remember it pretty vividly. It seems like it was yesterday. So and I went and looked on the schedule, and it was landing right here on 9/11. I was like, oh man, I got to put a scheme together for that. So yeah, this third place goes out to all the people that lost their lives and all the people that have suffered since then, 9/11. So
Well, I'll tell you what, definitely a great night for you here tonight. And of course, it definitely gives you some momentums for the next races that are coming up. Tell us a little bit about what your thoughts are over the next few races and how important it is to get such a strong finish here in the early going.
nope, I'm going to keep trying to get these top threes, top fives. Hope I squeeze in and get a win here pretty soon.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the next race will be next week. We go to Richmond International Raceway. Definitely looking forward to that. But before we let you go, Bill, you got any shout outs for us?
Yeah, I got to give a shout out to my family. I heard them cheering in the other room. I heard them going, "Go Bill!" in the other room. I got to give a shout out to my mom who watches every week. Yeah, S2R, NSRA, you guys up in the booth, all the league sponsors, Simbox. Yeah, so all the guys that I raced with out here too, man. The 140 green laps at Vegas is kind of a rarity. So, and if it weren't for all these guys, we wouldn't be able to have that sort of racing. So, shout out to them.
Absolutely. Well, Bill, we'll let you go celebrate your top 3 finish, and best of luck next week at Richmond.
I appreciate it, guys.
All right. Well, that was tonight's third place finisher, driver of the number 50 machine, Bill Edwards. And I believe that Drew Eisenman is caught up with your second place finisher, Chris Darling.
Hey, Chris, it's Drew Eisman. You got a copy?
I got you, boys. What's going on?
Hey, Chris, to kind of go through the beginning of that race, you started 17th. You're able to work your way up into that top 3 until the kind of rash of late race cautions really changed the dynamic of the race. Can you walk us through the first, it felt like 90% of the race for us?
Yeah, I mean, we were just saving tires a lot of the race, and I think everybody was just kind of taking it easy and trying to get to the end because it was real long. But about halfway through the race, me and Matt Cherry kind of were talking on the radio, and we realized that it's not really worth saving the tires all that much. So at that point, we were just going all out the entire rest of the time. So, I mean, there wasn't a whole lot of strategy into it. We had enough tires to probably make even one more stop. I don't know. I probably should have pit at the end there, but I didn't. So I'm kicking myself in the butt for that one.
Yeah. We saw how that kind of changed the dynamic of the race. We saw you guys pitting about every 30 laps. Was that the pit window, or could you guys have tried to stretch it out and cut one pit stop out of that cycle?
We had 32 laps on fuel, and I think at the very end there, on that last green flag stop, if we would have went super long on that, if we would have went right to the end of the fuel window, we probably could have made it on one stop, but it would have been so close. And I think with all the time you were going to lose on old tires, it wasn't really going to matter if you did one stop or two. So we just went with the new tires and did two.
Absolutely. And then kind of once we got to that rash of late race cautions, we saw the 14 pit and we saw you stay out. What kind of went into your decision making when all that stuff was going on?
I choked, man. There was no decision making. I don't know. I was at first I was going to stay out, and then split second I was going to go in, but then I saw Matt and Paul staying out, and I didn't want to take the chance of getting filtered to the middle of the pack and getting caught up in something. So I stayed out, and I don't know. It just didn't work out. There's nothing you could do about that. Because I mean, if we would have went in, I'm sure those guys would have stayed out. It wouldn't have really made a difference.
Truly. And then one final question for you. On that last restart, you controlled it and everything. Were you trying? Was there any particular strategy that you were going to try to do to try to keep those guys with fresh tires behind you and get yourself the victory?
Well, the only thing I could think of was that the previous restart, I went super early, right when the truck pulled out. I took off, and it sort of caught everybody off guard. So on that final restart, I thought I'd just hold them a little bit longer, which I did, and it ended up working out because Colin to my outside ended up going too early and having to back off so he didn't get a black flag. And I did get a huge gap. It's just those new tires just caught up so fast off turn 2.
Absolutely. And before we let you go, Chris, you do a fantastic job organizing this league. Is there anybody that you'd like to give a shout out to?
Yeah, I want to thank all the sponsors. And there's actually a lot. I don't even know if I can name them all. So, I mean, check out our Facebook page, check out Discord. We got a lot of great sponsors. Simbox, they're pretty awesome. Got a lot of cheap products, and it's really high quality stuff. Other than that, I don't really have a whole lot. I want to thank you guys for broadcasting the race. You guys have been doing a great job, and that's really appreciated. And everybody who puts time and effort into making the league what it is, it's been a pretty good ride so far, and hopefully it continues.
Chris, well, thank you for talking with us, and congratulations on your second place finish.
Thanks, guys. Hopefully we'll get them next week.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for a second place finisher, but I've made my way down to victory lane and caught up with tonight's winner of the Mack Grafix 240 here. And of course, that is none other than driver of the number 14 machine, Jeff Price. And Jeff, those tires, they worked out for you in the
They really did. I'm not gonna lie, I need some new pants after a couple of those wrecks that happened right in front of me. The 51 getting turned, and I thought it was over, but had just enough room to go high. Man, that was an awesome race. I'm so excited. I was shaking.
Well, you were doing a little bit of shaking and baking out there on that final lap, 3 wide for the finish. I mean, what were your thoughts going through turns number 1 and 2 when you got the call from your spotter? You're 3 wide and you're on the high side.
Well, I want to be straight. Like, first of all, on that restart, the 62 got me because I thought the leader went, and I looked over and he did, like, oh, crap. So I slammed on the brakes and I got going again. I'm glad I was able to get back composed and call him like, oh, you tricked me. But on that, I didn't hear my spotter. I was that focused, and I just happened to look down and seen the text because I keep it right below my eyes, like of the dashboard. And I laid on 3. Oh, I'm 3 wide. So I kind of look, because at my 3 monitors, I look to the left and I just see 2 hoods of trucks. I'm like, oh man, I'm gonna get turned. I know it. So I just tried getting as close to the outside wall as I can and just kept the momentum up and cleared them, and went straight to the bottom and just hoped that the momentum would keep me in there.
Well, Jeff, I'll tell you what, we've had 3 races this season in the Simbox Truck Series: Daytona, Atlanta, and here tonight. I think I've been on the edge of my seat for all 3 races that we've had so far this year. I mean, that is what a way to start off the season here on 3 Wide TV. We do go a little bit of short track action, finally getting away from the big tracks. We're going to Richmond next week, right here on 3 Wide TV, same place, same time. What are your thoughts about doing a little bit of short track action next week?
Man, I don't mind it, but I suck at Richmond. I'm gonna get in there and do some practice this week. These guys here, they will have me beat a lot of really, really fast guys, a lot of really clean guys. Like they'll run you hard, and they always put on a good show. I joined these guys right at the playoffs last season, and every week I'm just biting my nails ready for Friday nights because it was, you know, these guys can put on a show. They really can. I've had a lot of fun with them, and I'm not surprised that they put on such good shows. And next week, it's short track racing. I think there's going to be a lot of bumping and banging, a lot of people upset. I'm going to be upset because I'm going to be in the back, but I'll be okay with that because I got my win early. I know it doesn't advance me in, but I'm already in the top 10 in points. I'm just going to hang on to this the best I can and enjoy the win.
I'll tell you what, an absolute spectacular run here tonight. I know we talked to you there with about 10 laps to go or so, and you talked about the September 11th scheme that you're running here tonight. But hey, how cool is it for you to get to victory lane with that scheme?
Man, I don't know. Like my painter Andrew Beach, me and him run a league together, but that's besides the point. But the guy, anytime I got with him early this week, I'm like, man, I know it's kind of late. I've known about it for a few weeks, but I just forgot to ask you. He's like, what you want? I said, I really want to do a 911 paint. 2001, I lost my dad. I don't want to get upset here, but and then a couple months later, 9/11 happened, and every year I just think about it because my dad was a huge supporter of firefighters, and I know he'd been just as upset with as I was as a little kid watching this happen to our great nation. And so I'm sitting there, and I wanted to do something special. Las Vegas, I've never won here. I'm like, you know what? Let's go put on a show for these guys. Put some awesome graphics on this thing, like he always does, and coming to, like that's the most nervous I've ever been getting a win. Just the day itself, remembering and just thinking about it all day, it just made me nervous, and I'm extremely excited to get this thing in victory lane. This is a one and done for this paint. I won't run it again now because it's my lucky paint, and I do not want to jinx it.
Well, I'll tell you what, you only led 2 laps tonight, but they're the 2 laps that mattered the most. The last 2, definitely giving you a lot of momentum going into Richmond next week. But before we let you go, I know you got some shout outs to give, so let's hear them.
Absolutely, man. I appreciate it. But most and foremost, Back Channel Productions on YouTube and Facebook. They go around doing monster truck shows, like kind of your smaller arenas. Nothing real big, tough truck challenges, all kinds of different things. They're really awesome to watch. A lot of content going out right now in the last couple months because, Corona 2020, not much to see out there. But he's going on tours right now, recording these monster truck shows. There's a lot of really good things out there. People go check them out if you like monster trucks. Great guy to do it with. The big thing, the guys who sponsored this race, Max Grafix, really appreciate them because people, if they don't come in here and do this, we can't come in here and have fun. Chris Darling and all them over there put this series together, but what really comes down to it is the funding. It's really expensive to do this stuff. We greatly appreciate them coming out and supporting us.
Yeah, absolutely, Jeff. It is a great group of people here in the NSRA, and definitely putting on some great races here in the first 3 events here on 3 Wide TV. But best of luck next week on the short track. I know you said it's not your favorite racetrack, but maybe you can squeak away with another win. It wasn't looking like it was in the cards for you to win here tonight, there with about 25 laps to go. But I'll tell you what, the luck of Las Vegas, it strikes for you here tonight. Best of luck next week, bud.
Man, I greatly appreciate it. Yep, Vegas, baby, you got to do what you can, and came out on top, and I'll take it this time.
All right. Well, that is driver of the number 14 machine here, Drew. And Drew, one thing here tonight that we're going to have to look at is tonight's winner of the Taz Racing biggest mover of the race, and it is actually this man right here, Jeffrey Johnson Jr., picked up 25 positions, and he is your Taz Racing Customs biggest mover of the race. So congratulations, Jeffrey Johnson Jr., for picking that up. Taz Racing Customs, they make custom diecasts. If you can dream it, they can build it. They do customs for real-life NASCARs. They do customs for your sim racing truck, your sim racing car. Like they say, if you can dream it, they can build it. So make sure to go check out Taz Racing Customs. And, of course, congratulations to Jeffrey Johnson Jr. coming home with a very respectable 6th-place finish after starting all the way back in 31st. But, Drew, I think basically we only have one more thing left to do. And, Drew, why don't you start to take us through tonight's finishing race results?
Absolutely. Your winner, the 14 truck of Jeff Price, Chris Darling, P2, Bill Edwards, P3, Colin Ullery, P4, Matt Cherry, some late race drama to end it in P5 after leading quite a bit of this race. Jeffrey Johnson, P6, Doug Milner, P7, Jamar Dumas, P8, Ben Adams, P9. Nice recovery considering his issues earlier in the race. And then Nathan Maurer in P10.
Finishing in the 11th position is the number 30 machine of Joshua Sobel. And remember, Sobel was involved in an accident there with about 20 laps ago. He dropped all the way down to 20th position. So great recovery there right at the end by Sobel to get back close to the top 10. Paul Bilson, who had that heck of a save with that contact with Matt Cherry, wasn't all too happy after the race. But that number 51 machine, he is going to come home in 12th. Andrew Himmelman in the number 4 machine was also caught up in one of those late race accidents, finishing 13th. Nicholas Bradley 14th. Justin White in 15th. I think something must have happened between some of those cars. It's not the first time I've said that here on 3 Wide TV after the race, but Nicholas Bradley and Justin White, both of those drivers finishing quite a long ways behind the front drivers down in 14th and 15th. Peter Serto, 16th, first car, 1 lap down Travis White in 17th. Doug Neal, your pole sitter from the Simbox 250, of course, sporting the Simbox colors. He finishes down in 18th. Tim Hammond in 19th. And Jacob Shoffett round out the top 20 there.
In P21, Aaron Mack. P22, Brian Bradley. Joey Ducette in 23rd. Michael Mooney in 24th. TJ Buck, a little bit of a disappointing night, down in 25th. Robert Dudley ran up front for so long and then got caught up in that huge incident. He will come home in 26th. Monty Glover in 27th. Stan Houseman, our pole sitter, who never took the green flag, finishes 28th. Ben Mashburn 29th, and Chip Hansen in P30.
And rounding out your field here tonight, Joshua Kane, Matt White, and Mitchell Snare. Matt White was another one of those drivers who didn't get to see the green flag either. He fell out of the server right as the green flag dropped, and that is a big shame for Matt White. I'm sure he's thinking, what can I do to even see the green flag? Finishing well down the order, down in the 32nd, and Mitchell Snare did not start as well. And man, down at the bottom of your screen, Matt Cherry, he's led a good number of laps. I think he was basically at 100 laps led coming into tonight. That number will balloon up to about 180 with another 81 laps led here tonight. But still no wins for that number 48 machine. Will we see a win next week when we go to Richmond here, Drew? That, we'll have to wait and find out here in the Simbox Truck Series in the National Sim Racing Association. 3 fantastic races to start the season. But, Drew, I'm ready for a little bit of short track action. What about you?
Oh, you know it. I love short tracks, especially compared to my not-so-favorite track configuration in the 1.5 intermediates. I am excited.
I am as well. Got to give a huge shout out to our friends over at SimTV for the camera angles that, of course, we bring you, as well as the sponsors here for the National Sim Racing Series, Simbox Truck Series, and Max Graphics, of course, for sponsoring tonight's Max Graphics 240. Make sure, if you got any spare time, folks, hit the button that shows the entire description for this video, because if you do so, there's links to all of the series sponsors, and also make sure to hit the like button as well as the subscribe button, as that significantly helps the 3 Wide TV channel. But for myself, Peter Short, and Drew Eisenman, we'll see you guys in 1 week for more Simbox Truck Series action at Richmond. And until then, we will see ya!